So I'll just go through a few things first. What is redistricting? Redistricting is the process of redrawing the boundaries of election districts to ensure that the people of each district are equally represented. This is typically done in the United States every 10 years after the completion of the decennial census. At the federal level, the apportionment process in the U.S. Constitution outlined a process to make sure each state has representatives in the House of Representatives roughly proportional to its population. Laws passed since have modified the apportionment process as the number of states and number of representatives changed. In Minnesota, the state constitution and statutes identify what districts need to be redistricted and processes for redistricting that happens. Ways within each state, district boundaries are drawn so that approximately the same number of persons are contained within each congressional district in the state in order to give all persons within the state equal representation. These offices include both chambers of the state legislature, county commissioner districts, and city wards, among others. So redistricting takes place before the state primary in 2022. In the past, it has usually happened in the winter and spring of the year ending in 2. Details of redistricting involve many deadlines and important dates that are defined in statutes or rules. The city is required to complete their portion of the process on or before March 29th of this year. This deadline is established to allow the county time to make any changes which may be necessary to bring their commission districts into compliance. Cities with wards must redistrict ward boundaries to ensure compliance with ward population equality and other legal requirements. This may involve reestablishing existing wards or drawing new ward boundaries. If cities with wards fail to redistrict within the timeline designated, the mayor and city council members will not get paid until redistricting is completed. So wards are portions of a city that are represented by specific elected officials on the city council. They must be drawn to satisfy statutory requirements for boundaries as well as population. Wards are bounded by precinct lines. Wards are in a compact and contiguous area. They must be as equal in population as practicable. The city must use population counts that are certified by the U.S. Census Bureau and reflect the population as of April 1st, 2020. So what we did is we acquired census block data off of maps downloaded from the census website. Today we're soliciting public involvement, so we've asked the public if they're interested in coming and taking a look at this. We've published and posted a ward plan, so we will make sure that gets on our website. We just got the updated map today, so we'll get that on the website so people can look at it before it's adopted on the 14th of March. So that's when the council is intending to adopt it. We do have until the 29th, but we wanted to do the first reading or of the ordinance or resolution, whatever it has to be. We wanted to do it on the 14th in case there were any concerns. So we had that time to go back and make changes if anyone requested changes. So that's why it's on the agenda for the 14th. Once that's been done, we'll notify the county and the state, and then we'll publish and post the new ward maps. Of course, there is a voter's right to contest within 3 weeks of the adoption. So that would be no later than April 5th. And then we're going to notify the voters by mail what their new wards are if they've got to change. So it's hard to read, but this is what our old ward map looked like. And later on, I will show you, here's the next one, I guess it's in here. The differences that we are showing right now in the wards. So the new population is 3633 of the city. And of that, we've got 851 voters in Ward 1, which is 87 below the average. We've got 855 in Ward 2, which is 53 below the average. 964 in Ward 3, so we're 56 above. And 993 in Ward 4, which is at 85 above. So we just went to work and looked at where we could make some changes. And so I'll just stand up here and go through this with you. But each block, mostly blocks, census puts the information out in census tracts. So it's not necessarily only one individual block. Sometimes there's more than one block. Sometimes it's a larger parcel. It's kind of based on population because they don't want to publish information too specific on individuals. So if there's not very many people in a certain block, they're gonna put a couple blocks together as to not provide the public with too much personal data on the public. So in Ward 1 here, you'll see these blocks that are in pink. And those represent, if you can see, it's a half a block really, because the lines between them are where the alleys are. If you notice on 7th Avenue there, kind of goes through where the 2 is and it goes back down here. Those blocks on the lower side of 7th Avenue are short. They're narrower in width. Excuse me, from the front of the block to the left of the block. Excuse me, to the rear of the block. And that's true to those parcels there. They are smaller in size. So what I did is trying to keep as straight a lines as possible. You know, like if I would have gone over just one whole block and went up here, I would have had way too many people. So what you gotta just try, what I did is I took the number in Ward 1 and I knew I had to add to it, so that's where I started. And then I added these in, 89 of them in, to get us to that number that I needed to be at in Ward 1. So then I needed to add a bunch into Ward 2. And Ward 3 was too big, so I had to move Ward 2 up, and that's in orange there. And then I also had to take some that were in Ward 4, those are in yellow, and add to Ward 3 to replace the ones I took out. So that's the process that I used to balance that out. Now you're gonna see some jagged edges here along between Wards 2 and 4 and Wards 3 and 4. And that's because those blocks have lower population. So all that white area that's along the edge of 2 here and into 4, you see where this dotted line is, that's the boundary currently. All of those were in 4, but this white part, that's all one census tract. So I couldn't split that up because it would have made too many numbers for the other parcels, and I needed more than 2. And so if I would have put, because you see where it says park there, below, those are 4 blocks where there's residential properties, but it's not split up for me in the census data that they provided. So that's why that line goes, I can show it goes back and forth quite a bit in here. You know, it goes back, I can get at it better from if I'm in this table. But see here, this line goes back and forth a little bit. And that's because this white area is all one census tract. And I can't separate that data. That's how I was given it from the United States Census Bureau. So that's why you're getting these jogs in here. It's not gerrymandering or whatever they would call it. It's because that's how the census data is provided to us. This is a tract that they gave us. They gave us this one and this one. But here is included with all of, you know, this number here. So up in here, there's no houses, but in here there is, and here there is, and here and in here there is. But that's why that line is drawn like that. And then you'll notice I left the top 2 on Ward 4 just because of the numbers. You know, I had to balance. If I would have taken, You know, that's 1311, I had to get that number as close as I could to make those pieces balance. And so that other yellow one, way up at the top on this side, that was, I think 12 in that number. I whited it out for some reason, I was trying to block out that red line above, but somehow it goofed it up. But, so, this is as close as I could get to balancing that number out. So, we added to Ward 1, we added to Ward 2, we added to Ward 3, we took away, and I'll get more detail about that here. So this is the new line for Ward 1. And it shows you the census block numbers. So 3,033 and 3,035. What you do then is you go to a book, and that book will show you a page, and then you find the page, and that page will show you how many people live in that particular block. So I don't just get a map that says there's 17 in this block, there's 18 in this block, there's 22 in that block. You gotta go back and forth. Plug that information in. And there's what Ward 3 will look like. Again, these parcels were all listed as one, this 1013. And then this parcel in here and this parcel in here. That's all one census block. So I couldn't split that up. I couldn't make that line straighter because it's, I don't have, the data's not broken down that far. This is the same line, only on Ward 4. This is the 4th Ward side. So, I forgot to mention this, but over on this side, you'll see what we did. So we decreased Ward 4 by 89, we increased Ward 3 by 67, and we increased Ward 2 by 22. So 67 and 22 equals 89. Going back to Ward 3, we increased Ward 3 by 67, we reduced Ward 4 by 67, and that was over on the side here. We reduced Ward 3 by 120, and that were those ones down here, which we put into Ward 2, 120. This is Ward 2, which we increased by 142, and those were ones up at the top. We also decreased Ward 3 by 120, and then we decreased Ward 4 by 22, so those are some from the other side that we took in there. We decreased Ward 2 by 89, and we increased Ward 1 by 89, so that's how we arrived at those numbers. So the current population with the proposed changes, so here's the current population. This is what they were above or below before the proposed changes. These are the changes in total that we're proposing. And this is the population with the proposed changes. So we got them. The biggest difference is Ward 4, we're short by 4.25. And that's as opposed to being off by 85 in that ward. Ward 3, we're at 911, over by 2.75. Ward 2 is off by a quarter, 0.25. And Ward 1, we're at 910, which is over by 1.75. Within the ranges that we should be, that you're allowed to be off by, because they recognize that you're never going to get exact.
What range do you have to be in? Just to be like 5 or 8 or 10?
The county I was looking in the book today, the county can be off by 10%. It didn't say a range in our booklet that the city can be off by.
You got it close.
Right. I mean,
Very good.
if it was 10 for us, we would have been okay. But I still think that we should be better than that, than those numbers. 85, that's quite a big, for, you know, when you're looking at a city of our size. You know, 85 above versus 87 below. you know, that's a big difference. So, again, here is the final map. Does anybody have any questions or?
I just wanna say, this was a ton of work, and we were talking a little earlier, this was a huge task. And thank you, that's outstanding, and it just looks like really unpleasant to have to do.
Well, Carrie did a lot of the, you know,
Thank
the
you,
digging
good job,
for me.
Carrie, thank you.
I will do that. Thank you for coming, and nobody has any questions.
Okay.